is Matt with Cook's Warehouse, and today I want to share with you one of my favorite grilling recipes. We're going to be spatchcocking and smoking a chicken on our Kamado Joe. This is one of my favorite chicken recipes because buying a whole chicken is super economical. I think it's actually the cheapest way to buy chicken. And this recipe is just so versatile and so easy. You can make pulled chicken with it. You can leave your chicken whole and have chicken pieces. It's just absolutely delicious. So first I'm going to show you how to spatchcock the chicken. Now, spatchcocking is the process of cutting out the spine and laying the chicken flat. It helps the chicken to cook more evenly because one of the biggest challenges when you're cooking a whole bird is getting everything done to a safe temperature without having any of the parts overcooked. When you spatchcock the chicken, you make it more of a uniform thickness, so you make it much easier to cook the chicken through in a reasonable amount of time without overcooking any parts. So I have a whole chicken here. This is from Springer Mountain Farms, which is our chicken partner. Great local farm, great local chicken. You can find it at Publix and other stores around the Atlanta area, but any chicken will do. And you can get a whole chicken like this for between $5 and $7 depending on the size of it. So it's really great to be able to feed a family off of that and feed them a great meal too. So our whole chicken, you can see this one came with the giblets in a packet in the cavity. So first we're gonna take that out. You're welcome to throw that away if you like, but we're gonna keep it. This is great for making gravy, lots of things you can do with that. So now I'm gonna take this chicken and I'm gonna lay it breast side down. And I'm gonna look for this nub here. This nub is the chicken's tail. And so that is the end of the chicken's spine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut that spine out. This is pretty easy to do. You can do it with a knife, but I prefer to use a pair of poultry shears or kitchen shears. These are a great tool for this and for many other purposes. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna start on one side of this nub, and we're actually going to just snip all the way along the length of the chicken. And it can be a little bit tough, but just keep going through it. So you can see I've come all the way through on this side. Now I'm gonna go on the other side of the nub and I'm gonna cut the spine the rest of the way out. All right, I'm starting to miss the spine a little bit here. There we go. All right, so now you have our chicken spine. So you're definitely gonna wanna save that if you make stock. It's got some of the most cartilage of any piece that you can have. So this is really one of the holy grails for stock. So I'd be ashamed to throw this away. If you don't make stock, you may not have a use for it, but if you make chicken stock, this is fantastic. So now we have our bird. You can see there's a little bit of organ meat left over from where the giblets were taken out. That's normal, so if you find any of that, you can take it out. And there's a little extra skin here, kind of around the tail, so I'm gonna snip that off. And that, you don't really have to do that. It's just gonna make the chicken look a little bit nicer. There's typically a little bit of extra skin around the tail. We're gonna take that off. Okay. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna turn our chicken breast side up. We're gonna take the thigh joints and we're gonna push them out like that. Sometimes you have to kind of pop them out of joint, but this one, you can see that the legs are already kind of wanting to lay out like that, so we don't really have to use a lot of force. And the last thing we're gonna do, so the wishbone is actually the chicken's collarbone, and the wishbone runs right along here. So what we're gonna actually do, we're gonna crack the wishbone by pressing hard with our thumbs in the center. And you can hear it kind of crack, and now our bird is laid out flat. So that is a spatchcocked chicken. Easy as can be. All right, so now that we've got our chicken spatchcocked, we're ready to rub it. We've got this massive variety of barbecue rubs that we sell here. This is 4 new ones that we just got in from Lane's Barbecue. We sell a pretty wide variety of Lane's Barbecue rubs, and they're awesome. I love all of the ones that I've tried. Today, I think we're gonna go with the Spellbound. So this one is sort of a good all-purpose rub. It's got a little bit of the sweet mesquite vibe to it, so it's a little sweet, a little smoky. So all we're gonna do, real simple, so these have a shaker top, so we're just gonna start shaking it, and pretty much you can't overdo this. All the seasoning that will stick to the bird is fine. So we're gonna try to get all the exposed parts here. A whole chicken like this has a lot of nooks and crannies that you have to kind of find. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, but we want to make sure we get the outside of the wings. And we get this area that's kind of like the bird's armpit, so up under the wings. We want to get that as well. We want to make sure we get full coverage. And we can shake off any excess. We don't want to be wasteful, but we also want to make sure we get plenty of our rub on there. And you don't have to wear gloves for this, but I find it does help. I don't like getting seasoning and raw chicken all over my hands as much. So I get the back side of this wing, and I think that's it. So what we're gonna do now, all right. So that bird's looking pretty good. Got a little spot right here. So you just wanna watch for spots that you may have missed. But that's looking pretty good. We're gonna shake off any excess. So kind of pick up the bird and shake it a little bit to get any excess that's not clean. And then that's ready to go on the grill. So simple as that. All right, so we're ready to light our Kamado Joe here. We've got it loaded up with our Kamado Joe Big Block Charcoal. Today I'm gonna demonstrate how to use a loop lighter. So this is a great alternative to using starter cubes. It's probably the quickest and easiest way to get your grill lit and get it lit evenly. It's crazy that you can start a charcoal grill with just hot air, but let me show you. So this is super simple. It's only got one button. It's a lot like a heat gun, so it blows hot air from this end. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and press our button. We're gonna nestle it down in our charcoal. And we're gonna actually touch the tip to the charcoal. And we're gonna wait till we get an ember. It's probably gonna take about 30 seconds before we start to see an ember. So we're just gonna hold that on our charcoal. And the great thing about this, I think, is it lights it more evenly and cleanly than using starter cubes. Starter cubes tend to smoke a lot. But this, you can actually get it lit in multiple places very quickly. So we're just watching for that ember, for that very first ember. Okay, so do you want to zoom in? You can see some sparks starting to fly here. See a little orange? Okay. So once we've got that first ember, we're gonna actually pull up. So we've got that coal glowing just a little bit. We're gonna actually pull our loop lighter back a few inches, and we're just gonna fan that with the hot air from the loop lighter. We're gonna get a good little flame going. And actually lighting it in just one place is plenty. So that will actually get the whole grill going, but I actually like to light mine in 2 or 3 places just to make sure the fire is nice and even. So we've got a good ember going on that. So you can see the hot air is really stoking the fire. It's really making a pretty intense flame down there. All right, so I'm satisfied with that. So you can see a nice little flame there. So I'm just gonna repeat that a couple more times in different places in the grill. Again, this is optional, but I think it helps get the grill lit evenly so you have a nice even burning fire all around. We're ready to put our chicken on now. So I've got our grill all set up. So I've got us at 350 in indirect heat. So I've put the heat deflector in on the low setting. And so our grate is sitting right over top of our heat deflector, and that's gonna protect the chicken from getting too burned on the skin. So we're gonna do a nice indirect heat. It's almost gonna be like roasting in the oven, but you're gonna get that nice smokiness. And the other step that I didn't show, once I got my fire going good and hot, I threw in a few chunks of our peach wood. So it's smelling amazing out here. You get that nice sweet smoke from the peach wood. That's gonna add a really nice flavor to our chicken. So again, 350 indirect heat. We're gonna take our chicken and we're just gonna lay it skin side up directly onto our grate. And I think this grate is big enough that you could do 2 or maybe even 3 if you arrange them well enough. It's plenty big enough to do 1. I even do 1 on my Kamado Joe Jr. at home, which is only, I think, a 13.5-inch grate. So we're just gonna leave that guy. We're gonna come back and put a thermometer in it later on, but right now it's actually a little bit difficult to get a thermometer in a completely raw chicken. So I like to cook the chicken about halfway and then come back and put our leave-in thermometer in. So we'll check back in on this later. For now, that's all we need to do. We're just gonna close it up. We're gonna watch our temperature, make sure that our temperature is dialed in right at 350. So our chicken's been smoking for about 30 minutes. So it's not done yet, but I think it's about time to start checking the temperature and keeping an eye on it. So I have here a leave-in thermometer. This is a ThermoWorks Dot. This is my favorite leave-in thermometer. It sells for, I think, $44.99. And it's just really simple, and just like all ThermoWorks products, it's just built really well. So you can actually set an alarm on here when you want to reach your target temperature. This will alarm. So we're going to set that to 160 because we want 160 internal temp for our chicken. So we're going to go ahead and open this up and take a look at it. So chicken's starting to look really good. There's a couple reasons why I don't put this in at the beginning. Number 1, it's actually really difficult to get a thermometer in a raw chicken. And number 2, we want to find the coolest spot to try to probe. So you can't really do that until the chicken started cooking. So now we're gonna probe around. We're gonna try to find the coolest spot on the chicken because we want to get that spot up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. So the first place I'm gonna look is the seam that runs between the thigh and the breast. That's often one of the coolest parts of the chicken. So I'm gonna put my probe in there. So I touched the bone there, so it's hard to say exactly what the temperature. I'm actually gonna turn the alarm off. So the place that I actually like to probe the most typically is in the thickest part of the breast. This chicken is pretty large, so it's probably going to be cool in the center of the breast. So I'm just going to go down through the top. So you can see I'm only hitting about... So I'm going to pull this back and forth until I get the lowest temperature I can read, and so that's about 130. 131. So that's where we're going to leave our thermometer, and we're going to watch for 160. So I'm going to go ahead and set our alarm back down to 160. All right, so we're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to come back. When that's reading 160, we're going to take a few readings around the chicken and try and see if everything is up to temp, and then we're done. Our dot has gone off, so I think our chicken is probably done. We're going to check it just to be sure. Looks gorgeous. You can see the skin is nice and crisp looking. Beautiful chicken. We're just going to test it in a few spots. I'm going to showcase one of our other thermometers. So this is one of our instant read thermometers. This is a Thermopen Mark IV. It's made by the same company. You could totally do this with your probe thermometer, but because the probe is super hot and I don't have gloves right now, I'm going to use this. This is also a super useful tool to have around. I'm just going to poke it in a few thick spots and make sure it's reading at least 160. So we got 160 there. $165. So the dark meat's actually going to read much higher, and that's totally fine because dark meat has so much more fat and so much more moisture that it's actually not going to overcook. But the key is to make sure that it's 160 throughout. That's going to give you totally safe chicken to eat. But you don't want to cook your white meat much farther than that because that's when it starts to get stringy and chalky. This chicken is perfect. So we're going to go ahead and take this chicken. I'm going to use the tongs to pull the hot. Make sure you don't touch this with your bare hands. It's easy to forget that it's hot. And I'm just going to take some tongs here. I'm going to lift this chicken up off of the grill. The skin may stick a little bit to the grate. Okay. Put that out on our sheet pan. Beautiful. All right, so we're going to close off our vents, let the grill cool down. And this chicken, looking gorgeous. So what we can do, we can either carve it, serve it as is, or you can pull this chicken and you can toss it with some barbecue sauce, have it on a sandwich. Whatever you choose to do, it's going to be absolutely delicious. And you saw how super easy that was. It's a super easy weeknight dinner. Feed a whole family for the price of for the price of just a whole chicken. So thanks for joining us. Tune in next time. We're going to do some more grilling.